Greetings, beautiful savages. Ranger1. I'm sitting on this comfy white leather couch in the studios of Black Crosses. Can't see much behind me. We'll turn that away. See that really... There's Steven. There's that really bitchin' drum kit. Say hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
And we're going to pop it around. And that's Jason right there. So I'm going to start with you, Jason. Black Crosses.
Mm-hmm.
Beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it.
Well, originally, when I started the band, it was gonna be with a buddy of mine who lives in Carson City.
Mm-hmm.
We had this idea that he would come up twice a month, and we were talking about having a band for years and years and years. Well, we jammed a couple times. It was Andy, another guy playing drums, and an old bass player that I had at the time. And then Andy kind of bowed out, and the drummer kind of bowed out, and then we had the bass player Jay for a while, and then I started talking to Tony's friend Dan. We'd kind of been talking about jamming, and he was like, "Oh, I have this friend that's a drummer." He's like, "But there's a catch. He doesn't have a drum set." I was like, "Well,
That's a problem."
Yeah,
I was like,
I was in between kits at the time. I was in between drum sets at the time, so it's a sad state to be in.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, well, talk to your friend, and I hadn't met Tony yet.
Yeah.
I was like, talk to your friend, see what we can figure out. Maybe we can get him down to jam. And then so it was maybe 2 or 3 practices. It was Tony, Dan, I, and Jay. Jay decided he would leave, and I'm not certain. I think I put out a Craigslist ad, or Steven had a Craigslist ad.
Steven had a Craigslist ad.
Yeah, I had a Craigslist ad posted, and Steven came out, and we just started jamming from there. And then we had that core 4 members for I don't know maybe
a couple of years.
No, not with Dan.
A year and a half.
Maybe a year.
Yeah. And
then after that, there was some shit that went down, and the band stopped for about 8 or 9 months.
And when was this, roughly?
Oh shit! So the band split. This would have been.
The band split. Ooh,
yeah.
Shite.
So
shit got real.
Get in the dirt.
It got real.
Yeah. So this would have been. I'm trying to think. This.
Fuck you, True Hollywood Story. Yeah. I got the dope right here.
This would have been around. This would have been around June of 2016 or so.
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
So a while back then.
And then so, Steven and I, Tony and I because Tony, long story short, Tony kind of had, he was friends with kind of the issue that we were having.
Gotcha.
And so Steven and I were kind of keeping, in touch, not too much, but just, hey, he was checking on me because I was going through my shit. And, so, we weren't playing. Steven started playing with Red Pills at the time. I was like, dude, you do your thing. That way you're still playing. I'm kind of going through this life thing right now. And then Steven had tickets for the Punk and Drublic Fest, at Cal Expo.
Gotcha.
And he was like, hey, dude, I've got these tickets. Do you want to go? And I knew that Tony was going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But Tony was there with a friend. And so I was kind of telling Steven, I said, I'm kind of going to maybe hit Tony up and see if he wants to play again. And I don't think I directly asked him, but we were it was kind of brewing, And so that would have been, I don't even remember what month, but it was maybe 2 or 3 months later that we started playing again.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like if there's ever going to be a resurgence with a band, that it usually happens as a live gig where they all show up together, and it's oh, this feeling. Oh, this scene.
Yeah.
Oh, this. So tell me, so you're, all that craziness is going on. You've got this radical fucking band that you're gonna be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
How did you come through it to get actually back into the band? And
well, like he said, I mean, it's the person that left was a high school friend, a real close high school friend. So it wasn't easy, but it's one of those times in life where I had to make a decision, where I am, as an adult, how I want to live my life, who I want in my circle, and what do I want most? You know what I mean? Do I want to deal with some of the drama and some of the bullshit? Do I lose a friend for life? Do I just want to keep playing music?
Yeah.
And after not after selling my drum set because I needed groceries, which was like one of the hardest
That's a
fucking
real
days of my
fucking
life. You know what I mean? And thinking that I'm never gonna play again.
Oh, wow.
You know, we've all been in that
Yeah.
space. You know, I'm older now. We got kids, job, bullshit. I'm never gonna play again. I just sold my fucking kit, and
Yeah.
it was my favorite kit. And I was like, okay, I'm accepting this in my life. So when these guys all came together, and I was asked again to play music, I jumped on it.
Yeah.
You know, and so when everything got crazy and went sideways, I took it pretty hard. You know, I'm going to possibly lose a good friend, like I said, since high school, since I was 16. And I'm going to lose my friends that I have now.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to play music. Like, this is a fucking lose. You know, this is
my life is ending too soon.
Yeah. And so, you know, after, you know, not to get all deep on it, but after a lot of self-reflection and, you know, turning inside about, you know, where I want to be and what I want to do, you know, I made the choice.
Sure.
And here we are. So...
Steven? Tell me about it.
Hey. Well, it's fun. You know, it's music's always been a big part of life, and so it's like what you said earlier, it's a magical moment.
Yeah.
So when we broke apart, you know, I'm still kind of young, and I thought my whole life was gone. You know, at that point, I had this band, I had this really great environment, this great feel, because music's all about feel, and then it ended as soon as it came.
Yeah.
And so just going through the motions, keeping in contact with the guys, and just hoping, and just one day it would come back together. I know the first time that we played was the best feeling I've ever had after getting back together, because it's like, we may never do this again.
So that show, do you remember the show? Where was it?
It was band practice. It was
just a
show.
band
It was
practice?
just going back in and playing the original songs. So not playing these songs after playing with Red Pills and going through that whole fucking fiasco, which, by the way, fuck Lloyd.
Yes. We'll make sure he sees that somehow.
Yeah.
We'll
Fuck
tag
you, Lloyd.
We'll tag him.
Okay. So after that and getting back together and just playing the original songs, I'm like, this is it. This is home.
Yeah.
Like, this is where I belong.
Beautiful.
Nothing's worse than when you feel that connection and you feel that power and that energy, just like what you're saying, it could all be gone in an instant, and next thing you know, it's you're like, fuck, man, we had something really good and now it stopped. Why did it stop? And then, you know, we had to reconvene, take some time off, and well, here we are.
Yeah, I think I liken that to it's almost like a really bad breakup. You know, when that happens with a relationship, an actual relationship,
honestly,
it's actually worse.
It's way worse.
Yeah,
because it's like I've explained before. There's, you know, not to take away from like relationships that you might have with your friends or your kids or your wife, but it's a very different energy exchange. You know, with your band members. You know, you might talk about things at band practice or with your bandmates that you're not going to talk to your friends or your wife or your kids with. Yeah. You know, like shit gets deep really, you know, and sometimes you don't even have to say anything.
Yeah.
You know, so like I said, when shit went down, you know, and you know, I was, you know, pretty much 100% responsible for how things went, you know, at that time. You know, and when you have to like kind of circle back around in your mind and kind of take responsibility for your part in it, you know, it's not that you're just letting like, you know, maybe your wife down or your kids down. You're letting like your bandmates down. You're letting like, and the feeling that you lose between like, you know, when you're on I don't know how everybody else feels, but when I'm on stage, you know, it's like, I was talking to my girlfriend about this the other day. It's like, it's like sex, but it's different. For me, it's like that 20 to 30 minutes.
I like that analogy, though.
Yeah, it's like 20 or 30 minutes that I'm not me.
Yeah.
Like I'm on, you know, I know it sounds fucking stupid or whatever, but I seriously feel like I'm floating above myself and I'm not there. I'm
Beast
like,
mode?
Beast
mode?
Yeah. Well, I'm like, it's almost like I'm on acid. I'm not worrying about anything. I'm in tune with fucking Tony and Steven, and it's just like, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about drama with, you know, the ex-wife or just whatever. I'm on autopilot. And that 20 or 30 minutes, that's my fucking time. that away from me at all.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's like egocentrical, but it's like when you have that 20 or 30 minutes that you're holding like a crowd in your fucking hand, it's like, I mean, it's like the best fucking nut you could ever fucking have.
And that's the one thing I think that people don't realize about Sacramento hardcore shows. I think hardcore shows in general is that it's a fucking love fest.
Yeah.
It is not like, oh, I'm gonna kick somebody's ass tonight and blah blah blah. I mean, everybody's hugging and loving and just happy to be doing it, and that's gonna be fucking nifty when it comes back because the need is so goddamn huge.
Well, you know, which circles back to this. It's like, you know, whenever I used to, you know, put together the Everything Sucks Fest, you know, or even before that, like years ago, I would do this. It was called the Punk Rock Holocaust.
Yeah.
I would do these shows of just different types of music because, I mean, me as a musician, I don't just listen to punk. I mean, in fact, I don't listen to a lot of punk. I listen to fucking some weird shit.
Oh yeah.
So it's like I kind of look at it this way, like, you know, if you're gonna go to a show, do you want to see 10 or 12 bands that sound the fucking same? I don't.
No.
I want to see some fucking. Maybe some grindcore,
Variants.
you know, maybe some grindcore, maybe some fucking country, maybe some jazz, you know, just some weird shit. Because at the same time, I like people to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like you might show up at a show and you're expecting, you know, to listen to No Effects, right? And then you show up and there's a guy playing a fucking washboard and like a tub bass, and you're like,
The fuck?
this is fucking weird, but it's kind of fucking cool.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll see people, you know, they're fucking tapping their feet. Oh, this is weird. You know, this is kind of uncomfortable. But, you know.
Music's music, man. Music,
Well,
and it reaches deep.
Well, that's
no
the
matter
thing.
what.
If, you know, as you get older, you know, you can kind of tap into the fact that, you know, whatever gets you off is what gets you off.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be metal or punk or fucking reggae or ska or whatever. You know, it's like, as long as there's that groove, you know, I'm down with it.
It's more for the experience as opposed to just going and see the same bands over and over and over again. When you mix it up, like when we had the first one, I think when we had Dolores 5000 and a few other bands that were not necessarily in our stream, you know, it was an experience.
Well, yeah.
It felt like you were out for an experience. You weren't just going to go see the show where you're like, okay, I know what you sound like, I know what you sound like. So I pretty much have planned out in my mind the next 2.5 hours until I see the band I really came for, you know.
Sure.
Every turn you're like, fuck. You know, fuck. You know,
This is
that's
good.
rad.
This is
That's
good.
rad. Holy
Yeah.
shit! I don't technically really like. I'm not into what you're playing, but fuck, man, you killed it.
Everything Sucks Fest was not the first one?
I mean, it was like the first set of like this like newer festival. But I mean, like way back when I had this band, it was called Drastic Actions. And this is back when you could book shows at On the Y and you could do whatever the fuck you wanted.
Sure.
You just showed up, you know, and back then it was these punk rock Holocaust shows. And they were like, you know, I would do them like once a month. And it was I don't know why the fuck I would torture myself with this, but it would be anywhere between like 10 and 12 bands a show.
Sure.
So we would show up at like, you know, 4 or 5, you know, we'd get with Jandy or Grant or Jay, whoever was, you know, running the show. And they just let me do my thing. And at the end of the night, you know, I got, you know, of course their door guy took his 50 or 100 bucks, whatever, and they just paid you out accordingly. And so my whole thing as far as like booking those festivals back then was just kind of like, you know, we would have fucking bands that are like signed now. Like we had Get Dead play, we had like MDC play, we had the Angry Samoans play, you know, bands that hadn't played Sac in forever.
Yeah.
But it was just a matter of like, I just wanted to hang out. You know, I just wanted to fucking hang out with people. I mean, as much as I hate people, you know, I just wanted to hang out with like-minded people, you know, have a good time. You know, and it was never like, oh, I wanted somebody to be like, oh, fucking thanks, Jason, or oh, are you doing this because you want to feel good about yourself? I just wanted to fucking hang out and play shows.
Yeah.
It wasn't, you didn't have to fucking pay to play. There were no politics. It was you showed up, they let you do whatever the fuck you wanted at the end of the night. You know, they made their money at the bar because on the Y, you know, they had their built-in group.
Yeah.
They were making a killing at the bar. I made enough to pay, you know, these bands at the end of the night, and that was it.
And in this line, it's kind of your responsibility. If you've got a solid foothold and you're pulling a crowd and you know that you can get people out to a show and you know that there are these bands that don't have those locations to go to and they're
Right.
just doing studio time, that it's kind of your job, if you do appreciate their music, to get their asses out of the house and put them on the stage somewhere.
Well, right, and like I said, also it's just I mean, it's a perfect way to fucking network, right? You might book this show and this band plays, and they might have a friend that comes and they're like, "Hey, I've got this band," or "Hey, I know this band."
Yeah.
So it just became this, like you're saying, it's like, not to sound like a fucking hippie, but it's just like this big fucking love fest, right?
It is.
There's this mutual admiration, and like, it's kind of slipped back from the way that it used to be. Like, if, say, Tony was in Reno and I booked Tony's band, Tony would be like, "Hey, fucking, we're gonna get you in Reno." Usually there used to be this,
Yeah.
everybody's kind of taking care of each other.
Used to be real strong.
And now it's kind of like, you used to go out on tour and you would say, "Hey, we don't need shit. We just want a meal, maybe some gas in the van,
Mhm.
whatever.
Place to sleep if you
Right.
need it, yeah.
And I mean, obviously, none of us do it for the money. Those
Sure.
days are fucking
Absolutely.
Yeah.
done and over with.
Yeah.
For me to like assume or think that I'm gonna make money on a show is completely ridiculous.
The last thing you look for.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really no real. Sometimes it almost seems like disrespectful to even think about getting, money for a show. Those days are long gone from when we were able to actually walk up to people and be like, "Hey, how much, what are we getting paid tonight?"
That being said, I think that there are going to be shows coming up when people are comfortable and ready that are going to be good paying gigs. I've been finding locations where money can be made.
Well, and it's like, you're talking about that. Like, I remember you and I were talking about trying to do something at like the Colonial Theater, and it's kind of like, I kind of felt like, as like a friend and somebody who's kind of on that business side of it too at the same time, I remember having these conversations with you, and I was kind of like, "Christian, you might lose your ass, bro."
Yeah.
Like,
I've done it before,
Yeah, I'm like,
a couple
let's-
times over, baby.
Let's kind of be strategic about it,
Yeah.
And that's the thing that's really, wacky about shows. I mean, like, for instance, like years ago, my old band, we played with Me First and the Gimme Gimmes at the Blue Lamp to 1,000 people, right? Like, huge fucking show.
That's a large
Energy was
fucking
great.
crowd.
Fantastic show. 2 weeks later, we played on the Y, right? 3 people. So it's like, it's a humbling experience.
Yeah.
You can't take your shit too seriously, because, it's kind of like I've said before, if you're not up there, like, I play music for me. I play music to be with these guys. That's what I'm saying. There's that chase, right? It's like sex. You're like, either way, I'm gonna come.
Yeah.
It might be fucking but might
gonna
be
happen.
fucking, yeah, might be fucking fantastic.
I'll
Either way,
sleep
yeah,
better.
Yeah. Like, either way, I'm gonna get in there and like do my job, right? But I mean, there's there have been times where we show up and we're just like,
Yeah.
all right, But then again, you might have a show, like at the Blackwater Cafe. You were there. We played with False Freedom.
That was a great
So
show.
rad.
What a fun,
might,
great show.
You might show
A
up.
corner in Stockton,
Yeah,
man. On a
yeah.
corner in Stockton.
You might show up to that situation and you're like, okay, maybe there's 10 or 12 people here, in the beginning. But then just the energy that maybe those 10 or 12 people give you it's worth it. It's the same shit as like
that, and if you got Punk Kid Joey out in the crowd, then you've got it fucking going on.
So I mean, it's like I said, the reason why I do this is for me.
Yeah.
I remember being a kid, like a punk kid, and getting like my first couple punk records, and I remember getting like a 7 Seconds record, right? And of course, when you're a kid, you like, oh, fucking Kevin Seconds or Ian Mackay or.
Well, yeah, he was just all over Sacramento.
Right.
It was in Java City.
I remember being a kid, and I was like he was like a hero, right? Like a fucking hero. And I remember when I finally met Kevin, and I had like 5 minutes of just geeking out, not like saying it, but inside I'm like,
Would you sign my Walk Together 45, dude?
Whereas now it's like we've played with Kevin, enough that like it's the same. He's just down to be there.
Oh yeah.
There isn't the fucking, hey, I'm Mr. fucking Seconds, pay me my fucking $1,500 or whatever. He just wants to play music.
So Black Cross is from here.
Mm-hmm.
Where does it go? I mean, we're going to come out of this bullshit. I guarantee it. I mean, this is not the fucking end of the world like all the crazies are saying. We're going to come out there. There might be a new norm. What do you, let's look at it this way. What do you project the future is for live music?
It's hard to say. I mean, like, we had 19...
And this is a question I got for all of you. Yeah. So I want each one of you to kind of
we had 19 shows that I had booked in between, you know, February and January of this year that were all just scrubbed because of this bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, we were gonna, you know, to the Everything Sucks Fest, we were gonna do a Bay Area version at Winter's Tavern. We were gonna do one at the Shoe Tree in Carson City, and we were gonna do one in Sac.
Wow.
So, it was kind of disheartening, you know, because at first, you know, we were all lying to ourselves, like, oh, this shit's gonna be over by fucking June. You know?
I was in that crowd.
And then it was like, oh, it's going to be over by October, you know? But I just, you know, the hard thing is like, you know, you're booking these shows. You know, there's a lot of work that comes into booking shows.
Oh, yeah.
And then you just watch them steadily drop off.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to get back to playing 2 or 3 shows a month, maybe even more, if it's worth it for all of us to actually do that. You know, it's kind of funny because people reach out to me like, when do you think we're going to play again? I'm like, fuck, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not the fucking CDC or whatever, you know, but I would love to think that, you know, it's January now. I would hope that by fall or October at the latest that we're playing again. I'm kind of like in a weird mindset right now. It's like, because like Tony's going to attempt, you know, singing back up. Because I mean, I'm the main vocalist, you know, and I write all the lyrics and like the majority of the music, and then they add their little spices, and we all bring it together. But you know, right now, like my mindset is like, part of me is like, I've got to write, I've got to fucking sit down and write. But like with all the weird life shit that's kind of to the side, I'm kind of like backed off a little bit. I'm kind of stoked that we can at least come down here and practice for like an hour and a half. You know. I'm rewriting all the fucking lyrics because I wasn't happy with them. We're revisiting some old songs. I'm going to be writing, you know, newer songs. But I'm kind of, because there's not really this fucking hurry, because who fucking knows right now, I'm just kind of taking my sweet ass time.
You know, the online show, if you get the band, you set up a camera in here, you can fucking pipe out to everybody.
Stephen and I have talked about that a few times. It's just going off of what Jay was saying was like, I don't want to say pressure because we don't feel pressure, except for within ourselves. But we'll win. You know, we'll do it when we want to do it. We'll do new songs when we want to do new songs. You know, we have a couple new songs that one of them was that Stephen and I wrote that is nothing like anything else we've been playing, and I'm pretty proud of it. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's just going to take some time to really get it like in the mix and all that kind of stuff. But you know, it's we're in no rush.
Well, so what about you, Steve? What do you think?
I think it's going to take a little bit longer than just a year. If you look at previous infections, like the Spanish flu, I think is what it was. It took about 3 years for it to get cleared up. People were messed up for 3 years. So in 3 years, we're back to normal for sure. But until then, I think is exactly what we're talking about. Live streaming is going to be the big thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I really think it comes down to the community and the culture of this generation on if they're willing to go back into a live venue, if the fear is not too much for them, or if they're comfortable with sitting on their couch
That's
and
an
watching
interesting
those shows
point.
and consuming that data that way. Because if everybody's not willing to go back out after everything's said and done after a couple of years, well, this is the new norm. Like what we're doing right now, this is the future.
See, I'm hoping that this will be, I mean, it's obviously taken off over the course of the last decade or so, you know, the interviews and all that kind of stuff, but everybody longs for live music. So I personally believe in another year or so, when the doors do open and when everyone's comfortable going back out, it's going to have that much more of a powerful resurgence. I've already had the discussion, you know, with my family and all that stuff. Says, hey, when shit opens back up, we're going to start going.
Yeah.
We're going to start going.
I'm not missing it this time,
I'm not missing it this time because you know what? It's been gone too long.
Yeah.
This is very special. This is my happy place.
Yeah.
And like what he was saying earlier, when I'm on stage, when I'm giving that to everybody else and they're willing to receive it, it's so fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think when it does open back up and all these people come in, it's just going to take the scene and everything else, the appreciation for music and art in general, to that next fucking level.
See, and I'm curious to see how many like new bands come out of this. You know, it's like back in the day when you would have shows. You know, you'd have like, you know, like the Gun Club or like the Circle Jerks or like, you know, Ian Mackay, and he's like, you start. This is easy. Start a band. Everybody start a band. I'm wondering how much like new growth is going to come out of this. I'm also curious how many.
I don't know.
bands...
I think people were too busy baking bread.
Well,
honestly,
I don't know. That's gonna.
They missed it. They wait. We could have done that. Oh my God! Instead of making sourdough starter, wait a minute.
Well, that's the thing too. Is like how many bands, you know, because you're seeing venues drop off.
Yeah.
You know, because of this.
Oh, they're closing down. The Hideaway's gone.
Yeah.
Fucking. What else?
Hideaway's gone. I don't know about the cafe at all. I'm not sure what's going on with
Cafe's
that.
still open, and they just put out a new post that everybody's recirculating. I'm gonna put it up on my site too, and you guys should as well. It's just they're taking donations. You know, Gabby and what's Vin, yeah, taking donations over there, and that's an important spot. You know, it's a little spot. People drive by and go, oh, what, you know, and it's like, no, you don't realize the heartbeat that fucking building
Those are
has.
the best spots.
They are the best spots.
And the interesting thing about the cafe is, I mean, I booked shows there 21 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You pay the dude who owned the place at the time like $50. You'd go in and he'd let you do whatever the fuck you wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, Press Club is gone.
Yeah.
That's going to be something different. Jubs in Reno is gone. Shays, I think, in Reno is on its way to being gone.
Yeah.
You know, Winter's Tavern, you know, CJ is still trying to do outdoor shit. I'm sure now that things are starting to open back up, they can probably have bottle service and stuff outside. But they've kind of been, you know, on the you know, the down low.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I don't know how much of all this, you know, I don't know how many of these clubs have kind of been playing, because you have to look at it this way. You have like Holy Diver or you have Ace of Spades. They've got a lot, you know, they've got capital. Like, they can stay shut and they can be okay.
Yeah.
But you have these smaller venues that it's like, they're just fucking wiped out.
Yeah.
They need these shows in order to survive, you know, to have people come and eat and drink. And it's like, if they haven't, I mean, I'd be silly to say that I'm like saving fucking money, but it's like, you know, we were all fucking completely surprised by this. It's not like there was like a warning, you know, people didn't have money stashed aside, you know, wondering like, hey, you know, we're going to be okay. Because, like I said, a lot of people thought, oh, a month, maybe 2 months, maybe 4 at the most.
Everybody's just sick. We'll get through it real quick.
You know?
Like, oh, no.
And it was, when all this shit hit, it was interesting, you know, like I went to New Orleans, I came back, like 2 days later, we played a show in Reno, and then like a week and a half later, I saw Refused at fucking Ace of Spades, and then that was it. Like, it was
Everything
like 3
closed.
days later, fucking lockdown, no more.
Punk rockers and kids and young adults and old adults and everybody out there that's, like you said, sitting at home, maybe tired of making sourdough starter and maybe thinking about starting a band. Well, what advice would you give them, Jason?
Just do it for the right reasons. Do it for you. You know, don't go into the situation like, I'm going to start this band because, like, here's the thing. You know, when we all start bands, you're like thinking, oh, I want to get signed. Do it for the right fucking reasons. Do it because you have a love for music, because you want to hang out with your friends and you want to do cool shit with your friends. Don't do it because you think you're going to make a lot of money. Don't do it because you think that, you know, everybody wants to hear your shit, because no, not everybody does want to hear your fucking shit. But you have to do it because of this or because of this.
And just say to those youngins out there picking up drumsticks, thinking about banging skins for a living.
Treat it like your job.
Yeah.
Have fun at it. Be dedicated to it. Treat it like your job.
Yeah.
If I would have practiced every day like I should have for the last almost 30 years, I would be doing a lot better than I am. No, I mean,
But yeah, look where you
just,
are though. You're
I'm just kidding, man.
Yeah.
I'm
No, I
happy
hear you.
with where I'm at, but
Yeah.
that's just my own reflections on my dedication.
Well, no, and that's good damn advice.
Yeah,
it's just work hard.
It's the same thing, you know, as I tap into the same feelings I had when I was 16, when Jason and Kyle and Sam and we all started Jumpstart together. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was not in the scene. They were trying to get me to listen to the Dead Kennedys and you know, all these other bands, and I was like, this is kind of scary, to be honest, because this is not anywhere in my realm of knowledge, like at all. No. But I wanted to play drums. I've always wanted to play drums, even when I was little.
Sure.
So the journey's been fantastic. Just play.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. do not be afraid of your limitations. You have to just push the envelope, try weird shit, try wrong shit, try backward shit. That's the only way you're going to know what direction to head. And when you put those limitations on yourselves or your bandmates, like, well, you don't sound like this guy and you don't play like this guy, there's probably a fucking reason for that. Yeah. That's how you become your own.
Not supposed to play like that guy.
That's how you sound. That's how you become a band that in 5 years, 10 years, or whatever, people either come out to see or they revisit and they go, man, those guys don't sound like fucking anybody.
Well, that's how you have a signature sound.
Exactly.
Your signature sound. And this guy, Steven, you do it all, man. You record people, you play music, you play multiple instruments.
Yes, sir.
What's your advice to the youngins out there, the old ones out there, everybody out there that's sitting around maybe thinking that they need to do something a little creative and maybe even musically?
Just do it for the right reason, like these guys have said. You know, you're not going to make money at it. Just straight up from what you said. I've been in a lot of bands, a lot of failed bands, a lot of successful bands. Been doing the production side, been doing the recording side, and I've made $40 in the past 6 years just doing this whole thing, right? That was before I moved out to California.
Spiritually, though, you're a rich-ass man.
Exactly. Yeah. But before I moved to California, I started a band with my buddies. And that band, I decided it wasn't for me. I wasn't having fun. It wasn't worth it. But they're still going. They're still signed to a label. You can buy their CDs in Walmart. They're still going on. But if I was still with them, I checked in on them a couple months ago. It's not my thing.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have progressed with them the way that I should have.
Yeah, so, which proves money does not buy happiness.
You tend to lose focus of the now. Yeah. You know, we've all been in the bands where we've gone on tour, we've been on labels, and you're looking towards the future. Well, as you continuously gaze towards the future, the now becomes real small, and you focus on other things besides what you actually started to do. That's where people get lost. And that's where in 5-10 years, when you're like, what the fuck happened? When you're reflecting on yourself and the situations in life, that's when you can look back and be like, fuck. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, that's just my reality. I don't know about them, but, you know, I've been in that situation, and that's, you know.
And you don't get that time back.
No, you don't. Yeah. And it goes by, the older you get, the fucking fat. Yeah. It's goddamn truth, man. 5 years, there goes 10 years. What have I done in the last 5 or 10 years? I can honestly say, done quite a bit, and I'm happy with it. It's when you you know, like I said, you're focusing on what hasn't happened yet. That's where you start to lose focus on how to guide and direct, you know, your music, your group.
And here's the thing, it's like I've made some pretty big mistakes, you know, over the last 10 years, you know, and I've always been known as like, hey, this fucking Jason's a fucking asshole, or he's very opinionated, or he's fucking negative, or whatever. But it's like you're saying. I mean, I'm 48 years old, and I've never been, you know, growing up the way that I've never been happy. I've never been content. I have never been happy like I am now. Yeah. It's going through the growth that you go through. You know, you get to the bottom of the barrel where you're like, fuck, what fucking now? Like, what do I do? Like, what do I do? Like, do I just stay fucking single? Do I just, you know, do I bang out a bunch of fucking chicks and hopefully feel fucking okay about it?
Midlife crisis.
Yeah, like what do I do?
Get a Camaro?
You know, it's, yeah, totally. Fucking, like a Mazda Miata or something like that.
Oh, shit.
But, you know, it's interesting, you know, like people say, like, oh, fucking 2020 was the worst year ever. I'm like, Nah. For me, it was like, it's been exciting. Yeah. You know, it's like you're saying, you know, new love interest. You know, you've got your friend, you still have your fucking group of friends, you know, that give a shit. You know, you got this fucking little puppy. You've got a job that might fucking suck. You know, but you're still fucking there through all the bullshit.
The people that are whining really about how bad 2020 sucked are the ones that spent all their time in Costco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and the majority of people. Well, I really can't say that, but I mean, the idea in my head is that if you think this year sucked, that probably means last year sucked for you as well. Yeah. Unless, obviously, you got sick or, you know, you've lost someone to the... I get it. Yeah. Okay, well, it's touched us. You know what I mean? We've lost a few coworkers and some friends and stuff. Not cool, but I think just the reality of the situation is this year gave you a very black and white snapshot of your life. Yeah. And it either sucked or it didn't. And if it did suck, well, then some of the things that were there sucking probably were here before COVID sucking as well. It just made everyone really aware.
Absolutely.
Well, and two, like, we're talking about, I've had some instances. I've dropped a lot of dead weight within the last couple months. There was some things that I was holding on to, and I had to reach out to those people and say, hey, you know what? It's not, that grudge isn't worth it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, who gives a shit? Then there are certain fucking people where I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm going to continually tell you to fucking eat a dick.
Yeah.
Because people are always going to fucking pop off, and then there's going to come a time where, they need you for whatever they need you for. And then they're going to circle back around and be like, oh, yeah, well, I didn't mean it that way. I have no time for those fucking people.
No, well, because that's going to be a constant with them. They're the back and forth people.
Well, it's like
they have issues that come back.
Yeah, they want to pick at the fucking scab, right? Oh, I forgive you. Second thought. So it's just like he was saying, like Lloyd,
Mm-hmm.
Fuck Lloyd.
let me dig into that for a second. I thought everything with Lloyd was okay, but turns out I guess things with Lloyd are not okay. He's got to pop off on social media about some bullshit that we probably could have had a private conversation about and figured things out.
Well, can I just say, from an outsider perspective, he was literally the least Black Crosses of the group. I mean, he might have been able to play with the group and keep the timing and play the songs and do it properly. But talking to you guys, he was a different motherfucker altogether. That was a different beast altogether. And it was like, this doesn't feel... This feels weird.
We'll check it out.
But I'm an outsider, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But I guess I did.
Well, listen. We're talking about making money at shows, right?
Yeah.
This motherfucker is a fucking psychiatrist.
He's a doctor.
He makes more money than fucking all of us, and he's the one that's concerned about money.
Yeah.
Again.
And there were problems with equipment loans, stuff like that. All of the things that should have been just the basics of the basics.
Well, here's the thing. Don't go out of your way to say something is okay when it's not okay.
Sure.
Stick to your fucking convictions. If you are unhappy with a situation, fucking let's talk about it.
Sure.
We're all fucking grown-ups. I mean, of course, I'm fucking tiny, but we're all fucking grown-ups here, right? And that's what I'm saying. There's no reason to dig and to talk shit when... I'm like thinking, like, well, I thought everything was okay.
Shit was cool.
But now, he's fucking popping off today on fucking Facebook. And I just blocked him. I'm like, fuck this shit. I have no fucking time for it.
Yesterday. Man.
Holy shit. Fuck you, Lloyd!
Woo! and here's the thing. Out of everybody, Steven had his issues with him. He would dig at Tony about, like, he wants Tony to play a certain way.
Sure.
I would write these songs, and ultimately what it all came down to is, and I would explain it to him, like, we'd be at practice. I'm like, it's about the feel, right? It isn't about just fucking, It isn't about just, I don't want every fucking song to sound the same. It's got to have that groove. It's got to have that fucking heart. And, like I said, it's, ultimately, at the end of it, you have two people. You have me, who's like, this is my fucking band, right? Yeah. Obviously, it's our band, but this is my fucking band, Lloyd. And he's kind of like, well, this is kind of, I kind of want to have a say. It's like, you don't get to have a fucking say. You don't. If I come in and we're playing a song and you have three people that are stoked on a song and one person that's not stoked on a song, majority rules. You fucking you lose.
Yeah.
You work twice as hard as a team to make whatever you don't like likable.
Well, yeah, and figure out what communication needs to go down first.
That was from sitting behind the kid, that was the shortfall. Right. You had two very strong-willed people who wanted to lead, but when it came to actual leading and compromise, that's where everyone hit the wall. And we're like, nope. So it's like, as a band, you never want to get, unless you're already at that place of teamwork, of unity, you never want to get to the point to where it's like, well, if one of us doesn't like a fucking song, we're not fucking playing it. Because you don't know that guy, whoever came to you with that project, with that song, that might have come from a really deep space. That might have come from something really tragic, really happy, and now your best friends are shitting on it. Yeah. So what do you try to do? You have to compromise, or you have to figure out how to make it your own. Fine. If I'm not gonna take that song and I'm not gonna do this with it because I think it fucking sucks, you have a choice. make it better, you make it work, or you have a conversation with people as fucking adults and you say, guys, this just really isn't working out. And if everyone's like, all right, then that's one thing. But to basically be like, well, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. You know what I mean? You're gonna fail every time.
And sure, as a band, like Tony was saying earlier, Steven and he have wrote this song, while I was kind of dealing with my shit. And it's like, is it necessarily something that I would have written? Absolutely not. Am I stoked that they fucking came up with this thing? Absolutely. I'm trying to find my place in it, and here's the thing. You can't go into a situation and I'm like, what the fuck is this shit, Tony and Steven? This is fucking, what the fuck? And that's what we're saying. Like, if you have two people, like, say if I write a song and Steven's like, that's rad, and Tony's like, that's rad, and then fucking you have this other fucking person, could be Dan, could be Lloyd, could be Brian, and they're just like, I don't like it. And then I say, okay, well, what do you got? And if there's nothing, there's no rebuttal, there's no answer to that, then shut the fuck up and play your fucking instrument or get the fuck out. Yeah. For instance, so we were talking about doing this release and we were gonna do 7 inches, right? We were all kind of agreement on 7 inches. Like, I paid for the fucking art for the 7 inches.
Vinyl, not people 7 inches.
Huh?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say you should even call it 7 inches of black crosses.
Vinyl.
Woo.
So we discussed vinyl. And so we played a show at the Blackwater no, it wasn't at the Blackwater. It was that other place. No, it was in Stockton. It was the bar on the corner.
Oh, yes.
So anyways,
we scared people out of that place.
Yeah, long story short, Lloyd wants to do CDs. Then Steven and I start talking about doing
digital
cassettes
downloads
and digital downloads.
Yeah.
Well, it got to a point where it just kind of seemed like there was all this pushback from Lloyd for no fucking reason, and like I said, me being me, I'm like, you're gonna fucking lose. You're gonna fucking lose. I was like, dude, I paid for the fucking art for the fucking vinyl. Now you want to do CDs, and I just got up and left because I was like, I'm gonna fucking unload on this motherfucker in this restaurant. And Tony was all like, dude, are you okay? And I was like, dude, I'm pissed. Like, this is all shit that's been agreed on. And now you want to backpedal. I don't make a lot of money. I've already dropped $700 on fucking art for vinyl. And now I still have the art for the vinyl and it never got put out.
I think what you guys have got now, I think this is the new face of Black Crosses. This is always the face of Black Crosses. There have been intermittent people placed on stage next to you guys, but I want to say, and actually if I can get you guys to just kind of get up and stand next to each other, I'll get a finalizing shot of this beautiful band. Oh, we're old, aren't we? Hell, that hurts. Look at this. Okay, this, motherfuckers, is the future face of Black Crosses. But this has always been the face of Black Crosses. You got Jason. You got Tony. You got Steven. Beautiful human beings doing beautiful art. Classic punk rock sound, which is always near and dear to me, and not enough people push that sound anymore. It's become a different thing altogether, but these guys are truly a classic sound. They are trying new things out, and we're going to hear some of that in the future. But until then, Ranger1 signing out with Black Crosses. Cheers.